In this problem, we're being asked to factor a pretty messy polynomial type expression. It technically isn't a polynomial because this cross term has both x and y multiplied, which sort of pollutes it in terms of being a polynomial. And we're asked to factor it. Now, this isn't the same form as the ones before, so there really isn't a direct way to start doing it. So if you see a messy expression like this, one of the strategies is to try to do little bitty factoring and not factoring of the whole thing. And by that, I mean just start moving the terms around so that you can get things that look like they have similar parts right next to each other. So I'm going to rewrite this. Since this term has x's in it, the 6x squared, I'm going to put the 2x over here next to it as well. Because then if nothing else, I can factor out a 2 and an x from those two terms, right? And then that would leave the minus y and the minus 3xy together. And now what I'm going to do is concentrate on factoring these in pairs now that I've kind of put the similar-ish ones next to each other. In those two terms, there is a common 2 and x. So if I factor out a 2 and an x from those first two terms, the second term I'd leave behind a plus 1. And in the first term, I'll leave behind a 3 and a single x, like that. Now, over here, looks like there's a common minus y in there. And so when I factor that out from this term, there's a 1. And when I factor out the minus y from this term, I get a plus 3x. Ooh, now we're getting somewhere. Just a quick rewrite, which isn't totally necessary, but just for clarity. 1 plus 3x and 3x plus 1 are the same thing. And so now look, now we have a common 3x plus 1 on each of these two terms. Now factoring doesn't have to involve just a single character or a pair multiplied. Since there is a 3x plus 1 and a 3x plus 1 there, we can factor that whole thing out. Now parentheses are crucial right now. We need to put parentheses around that. Now, if we pull the 3x plus 1 out of this term, we leave behind the 2x. If we pull the 3x plus 1 out of the second term, we leave behind a minus y. And there you go. That's as far as we can get. We can't factor anything out of this anymore. There's nothing in common to factor out of here, so that did it. So this is called factoring by grouping. When in doubt, push terms that have a common character, a numeral, a variable, put them next to each other, and then factor out the clusters of terms rather than trying to factor out the whole thing.